Right. Well, thank you so much for spending your lunch hour, if it is, if not your early lunch, with us today. This is our Pathways to Purpose panel, Careers in Public Service and Social Impact. It's going to be a fast hour, so we do want to make sure that we're mindful of time. And I want to also thank my collaborators, um, Samantha and Marlene from both Marx and Starr. We have been rocking and rolling this for what, the past 6 months, give or take. So hopefully you all will love this new version of it. It's for you all to connect with each other, learn about the field itself, and hopefully ask questions of our amazing alum who have continuously given back to us. And with that, my quick introduction, I want to go ahead and hand it over to Marx's Dean, Sherry Ryan, to give a little talk about the program that we have at Baruch. Where do we have Dean Ryan?
Yeah, I'm here. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sherry Ryan. I'm the Dean of the Marxe School of Public and International Affairs. I'm thrilled to welcome you all here to today's panel, Pathways to Purpose, Careers in Public Service and Social Impact. This is so much all about what happens at the Marxe School, and I'm very excited that we have so many participants here today. I'd like to thank our outstanding panelists, Kenneth, Oswaldo, Raquel, and Chiara, for taking the time to share their experiences and insights with us. You each represent the kind of impact-driven, future-focused leadership that defines what we do at the Marxe School. We take great pride in preparing our students not just for jobs, but for meaningful careers in public service. Our graduates go on to serve in government, nonprofits, philanthropy, and the private sector, making a difference across New York City and beyond. The employment outcomes for our degree programs continue to be very strong and consistent, especially in local and state government. And that really reflects the real world relevance of our degree programs. We're also evolving and pursuing some exciting changes at the Marxe School that are really focused towards meeting students' interests and societal needs. We've recently launched a minor in public service that is open to all Baruch undergraduates. It's a liberal arts minor. And so we want business students to be taking our courses and understanding what public service is and how important it is. We're expanding opportunities for students with 4 new, what we call 4+1 degree programs, where undergraduates can stay on 1 more year and complete a master's degree in either public administration or international affairs or city planning or higher education administration. So all 4 of our graduate degrees have an associated 4+1, where you can spend 5 years and get an undergraduate degree plus a graduate degree. We think this is a real opportunity for our students. We're also actively working on a public affairs concentration for business majors. And so trying to expand out and serve all of Baruch College. And lastly, my favorite, given my background, we're working and launching a Master's of Science in City Planning in the fall 25. So that's a fully approved program that's starting up. And we really hope to attract people because they're really good jobs. And it's a very good directed degree program that leads into work. And that is my background. I was trained as a transportation planner, and alongside academics, I've worked as a practicing transportation planner, and that has really been my driving passion. And there are many jobs still in the planning sector. So we're committed to this kind of accessible, expansive thinking in our degree programs, and we just really appreciate you all being here today. And I'll turn it back to Catherine and Marlon, and who will be introducing our moderator, Masa. So great to see you all, and thanks so much for being here.
Okay, thank you so much, Dean Ryan. And I also want to welcome all of our other CUNY attendees as well, as this is open to all of CUNY as well. So hopefully you all will learn more about our amazing programs here. So I will now turn it over to my colleague Marlene, who will get the program started as we are all here to learn about the panelists. Marlene.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us again and spending your lunch hour. It's my pleasure to introduce our student moderator, Masayori Sudo Hasewawa. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Also goes by Masa. He's currently a senior at Baruch College, majoring in accounting with a minor in law and policy. He currently works at Starr as a peer for career, where he assists students with resumes and cover letters. He also serves as the co-president for the Pre-Law Society. And among many other accomplishments, he's deeply committed to giving back to the Baruch College community. And all of you may be thinking, why an accounting student, right? We couldn't think of anyone better to moderate this panel because ultimately, although he's an accounting student, his long-term goal is to conduct research in tax law and contribute to reshaping effective tax legislation that supports education and expands opportunities for future students. So thank you, everyone. Thank you, Masa, for agreeing to moderate this panel and your commitment to public affairs and to social impact. And we're excited to welcome all of our panelists today. So I'll hand it over to Masa, who will be moderating our panel.
Thank you so much for the kind introduction, Marlon. And good afternoon, everyone. As Catherine mentioned, welcome to our Pathways to Purpose panel, where we'll take a closer look at careers in public service and social impact. My name is Masa for short, and I'll be the moderator for today's session. And we'll begin with the first 25-minute group conversation panel session, followed by a breakout discussion with each of our panelists, and conclude with a brief reflection survey afterwards. And we're very honored today to be joined by 4 outstanding professionals who are making meaningful impacts in fields like public policy, advocacy, philanthropy, emergency response, and urban planning. So without further ado, I'd like to invite each of our panelists to briefly introduce themselves. Let's go in the following order: Kenneth, Osvaldo, Raquel, and Chiara. And when introducing yourself, if you could just share when you graduated from Baruch, your major, and your current position.
Cool. I'll start off. Hi, everyone. My name is Kenneth. I'm based in the Bronx, New York. I graduated from Baruch both from the undergraduate program and the graduate program. I got my Bachelor's of Science in Public Affairs back in 2019, and I finished my Master's in International Affairs back in 2022. Currently, I'm working for Data for Progress, a nonprofit/think tank that does polling on progressive issues such as housing, climate change, criminal justice, and those sort of things. And I've been working here for about 2.5 years, and in June makes 3.
Perfect. Very nice to meet you, Kenneth. And then Osvaldo next.
Hi, everyone. My name is Osvaldo Garcia. I go by he, him pronouns. I graduated from Baruch back in May 2023, so a pretty recent grad. I'm currently a regenerative economies coordinator at Uprose. So pretty much I help connect small businesses and the residents of Sunset Park to potential green pathways into the different industries. And I'm also helping in initiatives such as offshore wind and trying to make the state greener. So yeah, I'll pass it on to the next person.
And then next we can go Raquel. Yes, and then to finish it off, Chiara.
Hi, everyone. My name is Raquel. I went to undergrad at Smith College in Massachusetts, and then to Baruch MPA. I graduated finished the degree December 2021. And my current role is a grants management liaison, basically grants manager at Bloomberg Philanthropies. So I manage the grants for one of the portfolios. And so it's just a lot of budgeting, reviewing budgets, monitoring them, writing memos, and a few other things. But
And then to finish it up, if we could just get your introduction, Chiara.
Yeah, hi everyone. Thank you for joining us on this beautiful afternoon. My name's Chiara Solomon. I graduated Baruch College in 2021 with my bachelor's in public affairs, and I'm currently an MPA student at Baruch once again, and hopefully I will graduate in December. I currently work for New York City Emergency Management. This is a mayoral agency dedicated to citywide emergency response and preparedness and recovery. And my role within the agency is an intergovernmental outreach specialist, which is basically to say that I'm a coordinator between the agency and elected officials that represent New York City, from council members all the way up to Congress members. And that's my little synopsis.
Awesome. Well, it's very nice to meet you all. Thank you all for introducing yourselves. I'd like to dive straight into the discussion questions. So the first question really is, what inspired you to pursue a career in public service or social impact? And I guess because we're a little short on time, I'll pick Osvaldo and Raquel to answer this question. And Osvaldo, if you want to go first.
Yeah, so what really got me into public service to begin with is I grew up in the South Bronx, so I saw a lot of environmental injustice firsthand. And really, I really wanted, as I started going into Baruch and I started learning more about, I majored in public affairs. I also started to learn more about urban planning and how urban planning could be a great thing, and it could also be thing that can be used to disrupt and displace a lot of communities, and that's what happened in the South Bronx. I really wanted to become an urban planner to really create a future and a community. I wanted to create a community that I wish me and my little sister grew up in. And so that's where a lot of my passion lies. So I was part of the Urban Fellowship, which I was then helping plan or be an urban planner for the New York City Economic Development Corporation, where I worked on different offshore wind projects and clean energy initiatives. And now I'm working for UPROSE, which is the oldest Latino organization in Sunset Park. So really continuing to give back to New York City and to New York State, and really making sure that we're helping the most folks who have been systematically excluded, and making sure that they are not continuing to be exploited. But yeah.
I guess I'm next. I have a bit of a non-traditional linear path to public service. I always just knew I wanted to do public service and started doing summer youth. I also am from the Bronx as well, though. So doing summer youth, I interned at a number of organizations that worked with victims of domestic violence. So I interned at the DA's office in Manhattan. I worked for nonprofits that did direct service with victims of domestic violence, and worked with a number of agencies. And then when I graduated from college, I thought I would do law school, and randomly ended up at a labor union for 3 years while I was studying for the LSAT, thinking I'm going to be a prosecutor at the DA's office. And then I worked with lawyers, and that was terrible. So I just did not enjoy my time working at a general counsel's office, and continued to do work with victims of domestic violence, which really made me think, okay, if I'm not going to be a lawyer, can I possibly be social worker? I made a lot of friends who were social workers, and then that made me realize that I'm not, that would not be the best path to pursue. And then I just kind of continued to talk to a number of people and bounced around a lot around nonprofits working in housing and financial literacy, just trying to get a mix of what that call for me would be. But in all those experiences, I just knew that I always wanted to give back in whatever role that may look like. And so I'm not going to go on just because my experience and my journey is a little bit all over the place. But that's just to say that continue to talk to different people and try new things. And if something does not feel right, it's okay to move on from a role, and do something completely different.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Raquel and Osvaldo, for sharing your stories. It's fascinating to hear how different journeys can lead to the same commitment, to use your talents to serve the public good. So thank you very much. And for the students that are listening, please prepare some questions for the breakout sessions later on in the event. But the next question is, how do you define purpose in your work, and how has that evolved throughout your journey? And this is directed towards Tenneth and Kiara. We could start off with Tenneth.
Cool, thank you. Yeah, sorry. How do I define purpose in my work? I've been thinking about this question a lot since we got the question sent to us. At Data for Progress, we do a lot of advocacy work through our polling, whether that be at the national and state level. And I feel like defining the purpose of what we do comes to what comes out from all the polling that we do. So like, for instance, I've done many state level polling throughout my career at Data for Progress. And with each one, it seems like the advocacy for certain policies breaks through to not only constituents within these states, but also within the state legislatures and the governor's offices for these states. So like, for instance, my firm did polling in Alaska, which I was a lead on this year. And we were basically polling questions on a lot of stuff that the governor of Alaska wanted to cut out of the state's budget. One key point was education funding, and a lot of our questions within the survey instrument consisted of education funding. And we found that there was a lot of support from likely voters in Alaska to not only maintain the current level of educational funding within Alaska, but also increase it annually. And that broke through after we did the polling, we did a write-up on it, and we released it on our website. That polling broke through to a lot of state legislatures, where now the discussion within the state legislature is to keep that funding. And there's a lot of pushback against the governor's actions towards cutting educational funding. So I think that really defines what I do at Data for Progress. And I think it evolves every single time that we do more and more city to state level polling, because basically with our work, we're giving a voice to those that are voiceless. I would like turn it around on that like we advocate for things that people can't advocate on a daily basis. And I think that's like a great purpose to have.
Amazing to hear. And Kiara?
Sorry, my mute button is being iffy. Yeah, so defining purpose at work. It's a complex question, but I feel like the simplest answer I can give is staying organized. The nature of my work, it can be very chaotic. I work for New York City Emergency Management. I previously worked for the American Red Cross, and I started off as an EMT back in like 2018. So the nature of my work has always been chaotic, but staying organized when things go awry has always been key to making work purposeful, because if things are organized, you'll always know what your next step is. Especially even on a state level, while I do work in emergency management, my role is governmental work. I analyze legislation, I do outreach events with elected officials. And as long as I keep in mind who my contacts are, what do I do if something happens? Like there was a fire this Sunday in the Bronx, very unfortunate. But in the chaos, me and my team were able to be organized in sending out message amplification to help assist the residents by telling them, hey, the American Red Cross is on site if you need housing. HPD is on site, they can assist with temporary assistance and things of that nature. So maintaining organization in chaotic environments is how I define purpose in the work that I do. Yeah, so short answer, but I feel like that summarizes everything for you.
It definitely is kind of a difficult question. I'm sure everyone has their own definition of purpose, and obviously it deepens as you experience different things and get exposure to the real world. So, but thank you very much both for sharing. The next question I do have is, what's one lesson or moment in your career that affirmed you were on the right path? And I feel like because we have different career paths, or each panelist has a different career path, I'd like to open this question up to everyone. So we could start off with Osvaldo, and then Raquel, Kiara, and then Tenneth.
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think I would say in my most recent job, I get to engage a lot with community members and residents in a way that's very different than the usual way urban planners interact with community. So my previous job, it was very, like I worked for the city government. It was very bureaucratic, very top down. It was still a great job and a great opportunity because I was working on these really great and amazing projects on like resiliency and on clean energy, which was really exciting. But I felt like I was missing a part of, I really wanted to engage with people. And so in my new role, I'm able to engage with a lot more folks and a lot more residents. And so I'm able to talk to churches. I'm able to talk to Sunset Park residents. We talk to them about different opportunities and also try to combine culture and arts with also like the issues that they're dealing with within Sunset Park. And Sunset Park is labeled and classified as a disadvantaged community or a DAC. So there are a lot of issues that Sunset Park residents go through, but we educate them and we try to and we communicate with them through like the arts and through culture, which is always so fun and great. So I'm able to, I'm Dominican, so I'm able to connect back into like my Latino roots while also still doing political engagement, which is really cool and exciting, and to reaffirm that I am at the right place, and I really love my work.
I think I'm next. I'm going to be brutally transparent and honest because my response is completely the opposite as Osvaldo. I spent a number of years doing direct service. And so that means doing one-on-one work with a lot of, as I mentioned before, I was working with victims of domestic violence. I was also doing work in housing, so doing trainings on housing. So that was like my role that I was in when I started Baruch. And I left shortly after, doing it about 1 year. I just got super burnt out of doing trainings at shelters, working with people one-on-one, talking to them about housing, which in New York City, as you all know, is incredibly hard to do so. And that just made me think, okay, I thought I could do housing, maybe not. And that was sparked I need to transition out of nonprofit, and at that point did go into consulting. But how do I make the connection of like, maybe I'm not doing direct service, but I'm still supporting the public service field? And so that's where I started to do research on like what that could look like. And thankfully I was able to find a role that, I wasn't doing one-on-one anymore, but I was still helping people, doing training, spreading, working with nonprofits on financial management. And so that's how I knew. That was the moment where I was like, okay, I maybe the one-on-one thing is not for me in that space, but I still want to continue this role in the operational behind the scenes space.
Hey, thank you for that, Raquel. So for me, when I realized like this is the work that I want to do, is when I was directly connecting with people in the field. At the moment, as the agency I work for, I do a lot of outreach work. So I'll do a lot of preparedness event at town halls, or I'll do community tabling events, and just speaking to people. And I tell them how important it is to prepare for an emergency scenario. For example, we're approaching hurricane season at my job, and we're promoting material for that. And I speak to people, they're like, this is so important. I do a lot of events in my neighborhood, which is East Harlem, a Puerto Rican neighborhood. They're like, my family suffered a lot in Hurricane Maria, so this material that you're giving out is very impactful. I'm going to save it for my relatives to know how to create something called the Go Bag, how to prepare in the event of emergency, how to save documents. And little anecdotes that people share with me stick with me because I know that on an individual level, there's someone out there, at least one person, but more than that, that's taking the information I'm telling them and they're using it to help make their lives better in some sort of way. So yeah, I just really love the direct contact that I can have with people and the impact that I can have on their life. Yeah, I'll pass the mic on to the next panelist.
I believe that's me. Thank you, Kira. I think one moment that solidified that I was in the right path, it was actually most recently in New York City, we did a survey on municipal grocery stores. And I don't know if people know what municipal grocery stores are, but they're basically grocery stores that are owned by the city government rather than like a private entity. And the team that we were working on, the team that we were working with for the project really wanted to push the narrative that municipal grocery stores are beneficial for New York City as a whole because they'll help low to middle income families. And we found that support within the survey results when we got that back, and it really helped with our narrative work. And now we're seeing that that policy alone is being pushed by one of our mayoral candidates for New York City now. And I feel like that is our work at Data for Progress is really helping to push the progressive narrative on certain policies and certain issues that really solidify that we're really working to help those who can't help themselves. And we're really pushing and advocating for policies that not only support like everyone, but also support those that are in need the most.
Well, it's very fascinating to hear that there are many different experiences, and sometimes that even the smallest moments can be the most affirming. So thank you all for illustrating just how powerful, I guess, those realizations can be. Um, and I do want to move on to our last question, which is what advice would you give to students still exploring their career direction, but who are still passionate about making a difference? And this question is similar to before, open to everyone. And I guess we could start with Kenneth and then go the reverse direction, Kenneth, Kiara, Raquel, and then Osvaldo.
Thank you. Yeah, I have two pieces of advice. One, be open to anything and everything. Don't just think that the path that you're on is the only path that you should be on and just focus on that. Be open to like any experiences. Like going into my master's program, I thought after graduating I would work for like a IGO or for the UN, but I didn't have any sort of sense of like data analysis or survey research. I only took like 2 or 3 classes when I was at Baruch, but now it's like a full-time job for me within this field that I really honor and I really care for, because it also helps me like advance some of my research skills and also my data analysis skills, which I can carry on to other jobs. And then my second piece of advice is to use your resources at Baruch. That was one piece of advice that I was given going into my graduate program, where when the opportunity came to me, I worked for my professor as a graduate research assistant, and that really helped me develop my research skills into what I'm doing now. So I would just say use all the resources that you have at Baruch right now that you can grab your hands on. And I'll pass it on to the next speaker.
Great, thank you, Kenneth. So my advice for students exploring their career, don't count yourself out. If you see an opportunity, apply. If you see some sort of internship that you want to do, apply. If there's a scholarship on hand, apply for it. Never count yourself out. There are so many people who are so qualified for so many things, but they're possessed by imposter syndrome that they just miss out. Just apply. It doesn't hurt to apply. The worst thing that can happen is someone tells you no. By not applying, you're automatically telling yourself no. So put yourself in the game and apply. So that's my piece of advice that I have for everyone.
My piece is similar to Tennis. Really be open to a lot of different opportunities. People say when you're in school at Baruch, it's really about networking. And I feel bad because people say, oh, you should network, but it really does depend on the person's personality. Not a lot of people feel comfortable talking to new people. It takes a lot to get to that point. And so I would just recommend that you find a system that really works for you, because unfortunately, like, I haven't experienced it. I actually received all my jobs because I applied for them, but I've also met a lot of people that for a long time, they just never had to apply to a job because they just knew someone. And it's crazy because you just think like, wow, that's so easy, but you just need to be open to like connecting with people, and not just the students, also the professors themselves. I had professors help me when I was transitioning to my last job, looking at my resume, and, I was asking questions, and they're being open to being a reference. So I would definitely tap into that.
Yeah, I guess for me, I would say, I feel like Raquel and Kenneth said it best too. Like, really take advantage. I wish, like, my first year, I really took full advantage of the resources, especially the Baruch Fellowship Office. I got a lot of opportunities through Valerie Hymas, who has been an incredible support and mentor for me throughout my college career. So she helps folks apply to fellowships that usually lead to really great professional opportunities or graduate school opportunities. So I would say yes, take advantage of all the resources that Baruch has. The Starr Center is also really great too. I would also say be open to new opportunities. You're not gonna just like, also, like, your first job out of college won't be your forever job either. Like, it's okay to change your path like after you graduate college and to change your mind. It's okay to be flexible. life is super dynamic. There's always something happening or a new experience that makes you want to change your mind. And I think it's okay to really be open to that and to be flexible, and to really explore, especially after graduation, and just explore these different opportunities and see where you land. But yeah, that would be my piece of advice.
Awesome. Well, thank you all for your thoughtful and inspiring advice. One piece of guidance I'd definitely like to echo, especially to our Baruch students, is to take advantage of the resources available to you, including visiting Starr or any other services that are available for you to take advantage of. But with that, I'd like to conclude the panel portion of today's event. Thank you to all of our panelists for sharing your stories, experiences, and insights. And if I guess the audience could just give them a little emoji of a clap in the chat, that'd be great. But we'll now transition into the smaller breakout groups where you'll have more opportunity to engage with the speakers. And I'll hand it back to Sam.
Yes, thank you, Masa, for moderating, and thank you, Raquel, Tenneth, Osvaldo, and Kiara for sharing your great insights. Thank you all for everyone who joined us for this panel session. This recording is going to stop as we go into this breakout session. We hope to see you for future events.